Hello, everybody, and welcome to Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, alongside my co-host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, thanks to our friends at Forefathers Organics in
Unlock
Dansville.
the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, long day today for both of us. We started the day in Batavia. You're still there at the Jim Kelly Celebrity Golf Classic, a great time with some NFL and Bills legends. And then I made my way out here to Orchard Park to take in Bills practice, which we will discuss coming up. But first, how about your impressions of the Kelly tournament? It was your first time there. Wonderful Terry Hills Golf Course in Batavia. What were your reflections on a good morning there talking to some people?
This is going to be provocative, but I got to turn this AC off because it's going to disrupt the audio here. One sec.
All right. At the Jim Kelly Celebrity Golf Classic, it was probably like their 30th annual. It's been going on for years in Batavia at Terry Hills Golf Course. Jim Kelly, Bills legends, including Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas. You had Fred Smerlas, Steve Tasker. A bunch of great names there at Terry Hills. Just a great time, year in and year out, and for a great cause, raising a bunch of money. We spoke with Chris Berman at Terry Hills. Boomer picks the Bills to win the division, says the Bills' Super Bowl window is wide open. You can check all of our coverage at thedailynewsonline.com or on our social media channels. But let's just get right into practice today, AJ. A lot to cover here. Beginning with the quarterback situation, Sean McDermott before practice revealing that third-string quarterback Shane Buechele out for an extended period of time. The team signed former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Ben DiNucci, per DiNucci's agency JL Sports. Buechele dealing with a neck injury, and no surprise, he was sacked quite often, I believe 6 times on Saturday against the Bears. A tough performance from Buechele, and he'll now be out for quite a while. DiNucci, drafted by the Cowboys in the 7th round of the 2020 draft, started one game for Dallas that season, finishing 21 of 40 for 180 yards, passing and no touchdowns. He's bounced around since then, I think, spent some time with the Broncos. But your impressions of this signing and where the Bills are with their quarterback situation, a rough performance from Buechele and Mitch Trubisky against the Bears.
Yeah, I not too strong of an opinion with it. I think, again, it's about getting bodies right now. I mean, Josh Allen practicing by himself today, so that's obviously not the most ideal thing, but, more reps for your franchise quarterback. So that is
Trubisky was out due to a family obligation. That's why Josh Allen was the only quarterback at Bills practice today.
So I've seen some scenarios. I actually like Nate Geary from WGR 550 tweeted about maybe a possible Ryan Tannehill signing.
I think I was the first on that train, AJ. I tweeted that out a couple of days ago about Mitch Trubisky's rough performance on Saturday, and people were throwing at me, who are you going to sign? Who are you going to sign? And Greg Vorse, former Spectrum News sports reporter, tweeted out the list of available free agent veterans, and I said, hey, Ryan Tannehill's still out there. He seems to be the best of the bunch.
Yeah, so if they were to go that route, they obviously, I think, would have done it at this point. But it's clear to me that they gave Trubisky enough money. They feel confident in what he's brought to the Bills in the past and what he's done throughout camp that he can be the backup. So, you never want your backup quarterbacks to go down, especially in the preseason, because that's where they get their reps. But, we'll see what Ben DiNucci can do. He's a pretty popular guy. I love the name. Ben DiNucci. So it's a cool signing in that aspect, and we'll see what he can do with the third team, or maybe even work with some of the twos on offense as well.
Yeah, we'll see if the Bills will start their starters this coming weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If not, I'm sure we'll see plenty of Mitch Trubisky and DiNucci. I think judging based off of Josh Allen's comments after the game against the Bears. He kind of hinted at the fact that he and the starters will be out there, didn't want to reveal anything. Sean McDermott didn't reveal anything today. I think you'll see Josh Allen and the starters perhaps get some work against the Steelers. They do have that joint practice coming up on Thursday. One more practice in Orchard Park on Tuesday. Let's get to the takeaways from the practice field today. You glossed over the fact that Josh Allen, the only available quarterback for the Bills today, their first training camp session closed to fans at One Bills Drive. Mitch Trubisky excused due to a family matter. Allen and Kyle Shermer, one of the Bills' offensive quality control assistants, were the only ones throwing passes at practice today. Shermer just kind of mixing in during positional drills to give Allen a break. But there were plenty of takeaways from the practice field, beginning with Keon Coleman's highlight reel catch. Another one, another day, another highlight reel catch from Keon Coleman. This one came, I think, after a would-be sack from Terrell Bernard. If you watch the video on the Bills' social media channels, Bernard got in there with a nice pressure and probably would have sacked Allen. The officials allowed the play to continue, and that allowed Allen to go high to Coleman down the field, and Coleman jumped probably exceeded his previous vertical on that play, went up sky high, hauled it in, brought it down to the turf. Another great catch from Keon Coleman. He maybe had some trouble separating in the game against the Bears. That's still something he's working on. The communication with Allen, something he's working on. That timing. There was also a play today, a back shoulder throw from Allen to Coleman, one that they didn't have the timing on a few weeks ago. They did today. Coleman still couldn't haul it in, but you saw the progression of that play. So still a lot to work on for Coleman, but his contested catch ability, his above the rim ability is as advertised through training camp so far.
Yeah, Keon's been, like you said, a guy that has really shown the vertical ability, the leaping ability, does it again today during the first practice closed to fans. So looking forward to see him again. I still have the same amount of questions in terms of his separation and ability to get it open following the Bears preseason game. But again, you're seeing just how they are showcasing him. And I think that this was nice too, because it wasn't in the red zone. You saw it kind of in the middle of the field. So you get to see him kind of work there. And I'm looking forward to what Keon Coleman can do and how he can develop moving forward. It's been obviously a nice development to see a guy that he took at 33rd overall with, I think, a lot of questions, especially prior to the selection. I don't think many were high on Coleman. I think some people thought he could even go as low as round 3. And then when the Bills traded back to the first pick in the second round, I think Schefter and Rap Sheet started tweeting about maybe a Keon Coleman pairing. And I think that's kind of where it got going. The wave started to build. And then I think Bills fans really started to realize that Keon Coleman could become a reality as soon as the first pick, and then fast forward to the end of the night and Keon Coleman's a Bill. So it's been a long, I think it was a surprising pick at first, but you're seeing him kind of use what they brought him on to do.
Another player the Bills brought in to supplement their losses in the passing game, obviously Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis go elsewhere. Mack Hollins, a player that I think is going to factor in to the Bills' plans in the passing game more than people perhaps imagined, maybe even that they imagine now. Hollins returned to the practice field today, missed Saturday's preseason loss to the Bears with a leg injury. He made 2 notable receptions today during the session, a sliding grab on a bullet from Josh Allen over the middle, a 20-yard gain, went down low to get it, and then he also made a red zone touchdown reception. Day by day, just Hollins continuing to work himself into this passing game. And I think he's going to be a steady force for Josh Allen. He had that great season. I think it was with the Raiders years ago. Hasn't really replicated that, but I think he's going to get plenty of opportunity to do so this year. Didn't see him against the Bears. Maybe we'll see him this week against the Steelers.
Yeah, in 2022, Mack Hollins with the Raiders, with Derek Carr at the helm, 57 catches, 690 yards, 4 touchdowns. So he's only a couple years removed from that kind of breakout season. Now, every year other than that 2022 breakout year, he's failed to record more than 20 receptions. He had a 18 reception season with the Falcons last year. But again, that was, I think, a very unfortunate situation. I think you had a Drake London there who's kind of a similar skill set in terms of the versatility and the height and the kind of play style they use. And I think Drake London's obviously he was a first round pick, a guy that many thought could be really successful in this league. So they're going to give their first round pick more reps over a Mack Hollins, who's been, a career special teamer and has had some impact before, but not much. So I think with his situation last year and where he was at with the pecking order and the quarterback play and just overall Falcons offense, I think you're seeing what he might be with this Bills offense. And that, again, I think I really don't know what his role could be. I could see him anywhere from probably 20 catches to 30 catches. I mean, I could see him even as low as 15. I don't really know. I could see him as high as 40. So it's kind of an unknown, I think, with Mack Hollins right now to this point. But I think you're consistently seeing him, right, Alex, produce consistently throughout practice. Maybe not every day, but when he's been in there and not hindered by an injury, I think he's shown enough to, for you at least, and I think for many fans to maybe believe that he can be a contributor on this offense and make some plays and haul in some touchdowns and make life easier for Josh. He can use that, big frame and win those 50-50 balls like a Keon Coleman. So maybe Mack Hollins, we'll see if he dwindles through the weeds throughout the year. But I think at least to start, when Keon Coleman's kind of still assimilating to the NFL level, I think you could see a pretty nice role for Hollins and maybe a nice year for Hollins overall for a guy that's really not done much despite the 2022 season.
About midway through a quick episode here on Right Here, Right Now, we'll thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics. At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. All right, AJ, along with Hollins, others returning from injury on Monday included wide receiver Justin Shorter, running back Ty Johnson, and linebacker Edifon Ulofoshio. Shorter and Johnson did not participate in team drills, nor did Ulofoshio. Ulofoshio was wearing a red non-contact jersey as he recovers from that ribs injury. Johnson and Shorter, both in white practice jerseys. Johnson recovering from the hamstring, Shorter from the knee injury. There were several Bills that remained sidelined on Monday, including defensive tackle Daquan Jones. He did work off to the side with athletic trainers, including a few sprints and agility drills. It was his first activity since missing practice on August 5th or 6th. The last practice on August 4th did Daquan Jones. Joining Jones on the sideline today, wide receiver Brian Thompson, a new injured Bill with a hamstring injury that he'll be week to week with. Offensive lineman Travis Clayton with a shoulder injury. Defensive end Casey Toohill, who is also working alongside Jones with a groin injury. Nicholas Moreau, a core groin injury, along with safeties Cole Bishop with a shoulder and Mike Edwards with a hamstring. All those missed practice today. The Bills were not in pads, but there were still plenty of takeaways, including Coleman's highlight. Yet a few other Bills pass catchers recording receptions that were fairly remarkable throughout the session. Zach Davidson, a well-thrown ball from Allen, perfectly in stride down the middle for a huge gain. Davidson not seen much on offense on Saturday against the Bears. Maybe we'll see more of him against the Steelers this Saturday. Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Tyrell Shavers went tit for tat throughout the session. MVS, maybe a bobbling catch that he shouldn't have had to bobble near the sideline early in the session, but later had a nice in-breaking route about 20 yards downfield and made a nice stretching grab and a nice throw from Josh Allen. So showing some good catch radius and hands on that play. And then Shavers deep down the right sideline. Again, another play that may have been a would-be sack. Ed Oliver bursting in and pressuring Josh Allen, but he was able to get it away to Shavers after the officials allowed the play to continue. And then later, Shavers pulled the ball away from a defender near the right sideline for a 10-yard gain. So these two continue to jockey for position in the wide receiver room. MVS, a slower training camp. You've seen a lot more from Shavers. I think the preseason games, the next two, and the next few weeks here in training camp is going to tell the story. Who comes out of that competition, per se, as someone who the Bills will look to more in their passing game? I'm almost positive both are going to make the team at this point, particularly with Chase Claypool, who I forgot to mention within my injury recap. He was also another player who did not practice today. He remains out.
Yeah, Zach Davidson working with the ones. I'm just kidding. I know there was only one quarterback, so they're all out there. It's not a development.
He has worked with the ones, though.
Yeah, so he's been sprinkled in there, but I think it's good to see from Davidson. Maybe, like you said, in the next two preseason games, the Bills can work his way in, work Davidson in, and try and get him involved as much as possible. with Shavers and MVS, it'll be an interesting development if they do keep both. I think it's important now, MVS coming off a subpar game on Saturday. I know he didn't really get much opportunity, but a drop that really comes to your mind. I think with MVS,
Shavers also dropped one. It wasn't as easy, but he also dropped one. Shavers, a ball thrown behind him midway through that game, didn't haul that one in. So some hit or miss from both players in that game, I think.
Yeah, so I think MVS, good day for him to rebound. It'll be interesting to see how he goes throughout the next 2 weeks. It's weird because I almost feel like the less of MVS we see and the less he's put in position to like make plays, I feel like because I just think every time they try to get him involved or make a play, especially like during the preseason, I think he kind of ruins it for himself in a way in terms of like his chances of making a roster in terms of just like his play. So I think it's weird because I think with Shavers it's the opposite. I think the more they get him involved and the more he can make plays, I think the better. So maybe there'll be an interesting dynamic. I don't know how the Bills are going to utilize both those guys moving forward. But with MVS, I think kind of the less he does, the better in a way, because I think they're keeping him on this team for one thing only, or a couple of things, but one thing only on the field, which is his field stretching ability and ability to win deep. And then plus, the experience he's had and the success he's had with Hall of Fame quarterbacks or future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And then with Terrell Shavers, I think he's just got a guy ascending and has shown time and time again that he can win at every level of the field. And I want to see him really be utilized. Like Shavers and Davidson, those two guys, in my mind, the two guys we really have been talking about the most, Alex, on the right here right now, that are fringe guys. I think those two guys, I really want to see them kind of implement throughout the next 2 games, because I think that those two have a lot of room to grow, in this offense.
Yeah, no doubt. And 2 players that have been with the Bills the past couple of years. I'm sure the Bills would also like to see them develop. Sean McDermott has talked a lot about development throughout training camp, how they like to get players in their system and see them grow. And I think he also said that it's not often you see players leave the Bills and play their best football. Typically, Bills or players are playing their best football when they're with the Bills, and that can certainly be said for a player like Jordan Poyer and probably even Stephon Diggs throughout his career. Back to the practice field on Monday. Several plays made by defenders, interceptions from Damar Hamlin and Baylon Spector. Hamlin appeared to capitalize on a miscommunication between Allen and his intended target, while Spector made a nice play on the ball, cutting in front of a pass catcher to record the takeaway. Spector has consistently worked in as a second-team linebacker during team drills throughout training camp, and he's really making the most of his opportunities. And while you haven't heard a whole lot from Hamlin during training camp, I think he's doing a solid job. He did have a pretty solid performance on Saturday against the Bears, had a good practice leading into it. We discussed previously on the podcast. So Hamlin continuing to stack these solid performances and these splash plays just in the right spot at the right time. And with so much changeover in the secondary, consistency is going to be key, and reliability. And so far, he's been very reliable in the back end of the defense.
Yeah, who would have thought that we would be sitting here on August 12th, and I'm saying this,
not us.
Yeah, not us. But I think that Damar Hamlin is the week 1 starting safety of this team opposite Taylor Rapp. Now, I think it is a placeholder until Bishop can get kind of ramped up, or a Mike Edwards, to see what those guys have. I think who knows with where their injuries stand, but another week starting no practice, and Damar Hamlin continues to make these plays, on top of the experience he has in the system. I just don't see really a path for Bishop or Edwards to surpass Damar Hamlin for a week 1 starting job at this point. I think he's really shown enough to me, based on what I saw at camp, based on how he's performed, his mentality, how Bobby Babich has spoken about him throughout this process, and just his mentality, not only physically but mentally. It's a huge ask of a guy to come in 1 year removed from that injury and that scary, life-threatening situation, and to come in and fill the void of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde and be asked to do that. It's pretty surreal that we're at this spot now, but that's kind of how it's gone. And that's why the saying, sometimes it's just the way it goes sometimes. And then that's kind of what's happened with this Bills safety room with all the injuries, and now Damar Hamlin kind of supplementing himself, up this depth chart. And I really think he is the week 1 starter opposite Rapp.
Yeah, and I had Edifon Ulofoshio as an IR candidate on our most recent 53-man roster projection that I really took the lead on this one. Him returning today, albeit in a limited fashion, kind of pours cold water on that notion. Maybe you see Cole Bishop or Mike Edwards start the season on injured reserve. We all know how hamstring injuries can linger, And that shoulder injury for Cole Bishop hasn't even allowed him to use it when he's riding the exercise bike out there. He hasn't been using his left shoulder when riding that bike, only the right shoulder. So if those injuries linger, maybe those two are IR candidates going in to the regular season to create some extra room on that 53-man roster, knowing that they may not get either of those players back healthy for the first couple weeks of the regular year. Another defensive back that made a play today, cornerback Jamarcus Ingram, just a quietly good training camp. A pass breakup on a pass intended for Xavier Johnson during team drills. Then later, once again, using his instincts, climbing over the back of KJ Hamler, knocking down a pass intended for him near the sideline. Ingram solidifying himself alongside Kyer Elam, kind of on that second team boundary corner situation. Elam's done a great job. Ingram a little bit more quietly so, but I've been impressed what I've seen from him, and he's another player that's been in this system, knows it like the back of his hand, and I think the Bills really trust him back there.
Yeah, 2 pass breakups for Ingram today, so that's always a good sign for a guy. I wouldn't say fighting for a spot, but just trying to build his confidence, I would say, throughout camp. Maybe he's still fighting for a spot. You can't say a guy that's really never been on an NFL roster, is a lock at this point. So I don't want to go that far. But you've seen enough from Jamarcus Ingram at this point to feel confident in what he can do as a special teams guy, as a cornerback. If Benford or Douglas go down and Elam is unable to stack those consistent days, so I think Ingram overall, I mean, he's really built his stock up throughout camp. I've liked what I've seen from him. His physicality as a cornerback, his instincts have really shown a lot throughout camp. So Jamarcus Ingram, I mean, yeah, I think he's done a good job so far at rising his stock at least.
Let's talk about the safety position once more. You have a Cam Lewis who had a good preseason game. You have a Kendall Williamson who I kind of rated negatively, but I think as time has gone on, maybe watching a little bit of the clips posted by some of the Cover One guys and bouncing some ideas off people, I think he played a little bit better than maybe I originally had thought. I think this secondary could be a little bit more promising than people are looking at right now. You have Edwards and Bishop out, but I like what I've seen from Lewis. I like what I've seen from Ingram at the cornerback position. Williamson may be trending up. He's been out there with the second team quite a bit throughout training camp during the Bills' time at St. John Fisher. So you have Damar Hamlin consistently making plays, kind of in that fill-in role for an expected starter in Mike Edwards or Cole Bishop. And then behind him with a Lewis and Ingram, you have Daquan Harding making plays. I really like how this secondary is starting to shape up with a lot of these young players.
Yeah, I think I'm more hopeful than like feeling like I'm confident with what they have, especially at the safety position. I mean, replacing 2 all-pro players that have been together for 6 or 7 years, that have communicated with each other day in, day out, that have done it at the level that those 2 did with Poyer and Hyde, I think that's hard to replace, and especially with the injuries that they faced. I get it. You get the continuity with Rapp and Hamlin consistently, but I mean, they didn't even have a second safety spot figured out by the time training camp started, so they didn't even know who that second safety was going to be. Now the counterpoint is, okay, it's Sean McDermott. They're a defensive back factory. They make all these guys good. Well, I understand that, but there's also a counterpoint is like, then why ever spend money on or draft a safety in the second round if you can just produce all these guys on day 3 and draft them late? So it's a tough conversation to have. I'd say I'm more hopeful at this point. I really do like what I've seen from Damar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp, but I just don't know how sustainable that is moving forward. I still am confident, I would say, in the cornerbacks. So maybe I'm confident in the overall secondary in terms of what I think Douglas and Benford can be. But in terms of the safety spot, there's still just too many questions for me at this point to say I have a high confidence in that group, because there's just not enough there for me, especially with the injuries to 2 important offseason acquisitions.
Final update from the practice field. Tyler Bass, another inconsistent day during training camp, had a good day against the Bears in some windy conditions, and it impressed Coach Sean McDermott, but today misses from 42 and 45 during practice. A little bit of wind out there on the practice field today as well, and he did make one from 60 yards, but those 2 misses just concerning as he remains inconsistent as he has throughout training camp. And I'm not sure what other kickers are doing around the league, but it seems like he's missing more kicks wide than he has in the past during these practices. and the Bills really not supplying that heavy of a rush against them.
Yeah, so let's Greg Zuerlein, Kamari Fairburn, Chase McLaughlin, Will Lutz, Nick Folk, Greg Joseph, Brandon McManus. I'm just naming off some guys there. But Bass isn't going to go anywhere, but that's just
not this year, maybe next year.
If it gets really bad in the regular season and he's like missing and very inconsistent, maybe I could see them go grab one of those.
But with that contract, it's going to be really hard for them to move on from him this year.
Right. So you're basically stuck. I forgot about the contract extension. They kind of tried to get ahead. That's like, the Ed Oliver. If this Tyler Bass contract doesn't work out, it was kind of like they tried to do the Ed Oliver thing, get ahead of it. And with Ed Oliver, it worked because obviously he now is the player he is, and he's probably playing below his contract than what he should be getting paid. And with Tyler Bass, I feel like you try and do the same thing. And I think Bass, they drafted him. They were into him coming out of college, and he really put together first 2 productive seasons were really well. And, obviously then that happened. So I'm curious to see what Bass can be. Again, it's all going to come down to those game scenarios. I think 4 of 6 today. I think misses what do you say from inside 45, 42 and 45?
42 and 43. Let me double check here.
So, inside 45.
42
yards,
and 45.
Yeah, so you're missing two from inside 45 and below. That's not – those should be – you should be making 90% of those kicks. Maybe one –
especially in practice.
Right. Yeah, maybe one of those goes out. But, again, the concern meter is always going to be there for Bass until he does it. And I'm looking forward to what, Tyler Bass can do this year with the heightened pressure and basically fighting for, his NFL career.
Before we get out of here, another word from our sponsor, Forefathers Organics.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, that's going to do it. Bills back on the practice field Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Joe Brady will meet the media at 9 a.m. And then Bills Steelers joint practice in Pittsburgh or Latrobe. I can't remember where it is I'm going. I better figure that out soon. But that will be at 2 p.m. on Thursday. Friday, they will have off, I believe. And then Saturday, the preseason game, 7 p.m. in Pittsburgh. So an exciting weekend coming up, and we will see you next time.
Peace out.